Welcome back to the channel, Soap fans. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the messy, dramatic, and absolutely explosive world of Port Charles. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk about the absolute madness unfolding right now, because we have a lot to unpack. The drama is reaching a boiling point, and I have some very strong opinions about where this is heading. Let's be real for a second, because we need to talk about the absolute character assassination happening right before our very eyes on General Hospital. The writers are posing a massive question right now. Should Brooklyn Quartermain come forward with the truth about the horrific Route 91 accident that almost killed Jordan Ashford? And honestly, I am furious. I am absolutely livid that all signs point to the narrative, forcing Brook Lynn to be the scapegoat and the prime suspect for this fiery car crash. Let's break down exactly what happened, because the hypocrisy is blinding. We all watched the screen as the camera ominously panned over to Brooklyn's empty wine glass before she left for Charlie's pub. The implication was heavy-handed and completely forced. We are supposed to believe that after a single glass or maybe two of wine, Brooklyn was suddenly so intoxicated, so completely tipsy, that she veered off a dark highway, caused a multi-car collision, and just kept driving without a second thought. That is crazy. It completely ignores the reality of what we actually saw on our screens. What we actually saw was Curtis and Jordan Ashford driving down that exact same dark, treacherous road. And what were they doing? Paying attention to the road, being responsible adults? Absolutely not. They were passionately making out. Jordan took her eyes completely off the road to canoodle with Curtis like they were a pair of reckless high school sweethearts on their way to Lover's Lane. It was the exact equivalent of texting and driving, if not worse. Yet not a single person in Port Charles, and frankly, very few people in the soap community, are calling out their blatant negligence. Jordan swerved because she wasn't looking at the road. She was distracted. But because the writers need high-stakes drama, they are intentionally framing Brooklyn as the sole villain of this tragedy. It makes me so angry because this story takes a huge risk with Brooklyn's character, while completely minimizing the incredibly dangerous actions of the other drivers involved. Brooklyn is the character who stands to lose the absolute most in this scenario, and from a cynical writer's perspective, making her the culprit makes perfect sense to generate maximum angst. But from a character development standpoint, this is a total disaster. Brooklyn could be permanently ruined if she doesn't confess, and she needs to do it soon. My heart is literally breaking for her right now. Think about where she is in her life. She just got everything she ever wanted. She is happily married to Harrison Chase. She has finally built a beautiful, trusting relationship with her son, Giovanni Palmieri. And most importantly, she and Chase were just conditionally approved to foster baby Phoebe. If Brooklyn confesses that she caused a near-fatal accident while driving under the influence, she could easily and instantly lose baby Phoebe forever. The social worker visit was already a complete nightmare because little Wiley dropped the word hooker right in the middle of it. Thanks to Michael and Olivia's screaming match, Brooklyn's foster parent dreams are hanging by the thinnest, most fragile thread imaginable. This situation is a colossal moral dilemma for her, and it highlights a deeply frustrating trope in daytime television. Soaps are notoriously unsupportive of genuine character growth. They love to build a character up over years, only to tear them down in a single episode for the sake of a sweeps month cliffhanger. Brooklyn has worked so incredibly hard to become the wonderful, mature, and responsible person she is today. If we look back 5 or 10 years ago, Brooklyn was a completely different person. She was manipulative, she was entirely self-serving in the music industry, and she made constant reckless mistakes. But she grew up. We saw her incredible capacity for selfless love when she faked a pregnancy to protect baby Louise from the psychotic Peter August. That storyline proved that Brooklyn has a massive heart and is willing to sacrifice her own reputation to protect a child. To see the writers strip away all that beautiful character evolution and regress her back to a reckless, hit-and-run villain is downright insulting to the fans who have invested in her journey. If Brooklyn decides to keep this a secret, we all know exactly how this plays out. Secrets do not stay buried in Port Charles. They fester, they rot, and then they explode at the absolute worst possible moment, usually at a wedding, a funeral, or a custody hearing. If she buries the truth, she could lose so much more than the child she's promised to foster. She could lose her husband. Harrison Chase is a fundamentally good man, but he is also a dedicated police officer with a very rigid moral compass. He believes in the law. He believes in justice. If he finds out that his wife not only caused a horrific accident that left the former police commissioner fighting for her life in the hospital, but also actively covered it up, it might completely break his trust in her. Chase has forgiven Brooklyn for a lot of lies in the past, but a felony hit and run is an entirely different playing field. It goes against everything he stands for as a cop. And you won't believe what happens next if Chase decides he can't look at Brooklyn the same way anymore. We all know exactly where Chase will run when he is heartbroken and seeking comfort. He will run straight back to Willow Cane. That is a nightmare scenario that no one wants to see. Willow is currently spiraling out of control in her own life. She is stooping to absolute new lows, scheming with her mother Nina, manipulating Charlotte Cassidy, and harboring immense, terrifying jealousy over Michael's new girlfriend, Jacinda Bracken. Willow is launching heated, screaming confrontations at Jacinda out of sheer insecurity. She is a mess. The last thing we need is for Chase's marriage to implode, sending him right back into Willow's chaotic, hypocritical orbit. Brook Lynn cannot allow her mistake to pave the way for a Chase and Willow reunion. She has to fight for her marriage. And the only way to do that is with total, unflinching honesty. More importantly, Brook Lynn would lose the respect of her son Gio. It took forever for Brook Lynn to make any real progress with him. Gio is a sensitive, talented young man who looks for authenticity and truth. The painful irony here is that Brook Lynn was rushing to Charlie's pub that night specifically to support Gio during his musical performance. She wanted to be the supportive mother she never got to be when he was growing up. If Gio finds out that his mother hit a car, left people burning in a wreck, and then showed up at his gig acting shady and pretending everything was fine, he'll be disgusted. He might think what she did was utterly despicable and write her off for good. Gio is planning this beautiful romantic trip to New York City for Emma Scorpio Drake, showing what a thoughtful, caring person he is. He wouldn't be able to reconcile that with a mother who acts like a coward. Brook Lynn simply cannot afford to lose her son again. Let's look at the harsh reality of the legal ramifications if she confesses. The outcome of her confession would undoubtedly sacrifice her opportunity to help Phoebe. The foster care system is not going to place an infant in the home of a woman facing criminal charges. It's a devastating blow, but it's the truth. Furthermore, because the accident caused life-threatening injuries to Jordan, who was pulled from the burning wreckage completely unresponsive and might be suffering from a traumatic brain injury, Brook Lynn could be looking at severe felony charges. We are talking about felony DUI leaving the scene of an accident with bodily injury, or even aggravated assault with a motor vehicle. Even if there is no concrete proof, and only the word of the driver at fault, the legal penalties in Port Charles can be harsh when the victim is a high-profile figure like the former mayor's deputy. Hell, she may even spend some actual time in Steinmauer. But here's the kicker. If she comes clean, she would have the support of the people who matter most in her life. Brook Lynn's loved ones would rally around her. Yes, she didn't stop after she swerved off the road. But if she owns up to it immediately, those closest to her would eventually forgive her actions. It would be way too retro Brook Lynn for her to bury this and play the victim. The new, mature Brook Lynn needs to step up and take accountability. And let's be fair to her for a moment regarding the crash itself. While she didn't stop, it also looked like her memory of that night was hazy at best. When we saw her in her bedroom, looking at baby Phoebe, and thinking aloud, she didn't seem like a malicious criminal who knowingly left people to die. She seemed like someone who was slowly, painfully putting the pieces together about what went down that night. She was piecing together the timeline, the swerve, the news of the crash, and realizing with mounting horror that she might be responsible. At the very least, Brook Lynn should confide in someone immediately. She cannot carry this burden alone because the guilt will eat her alive and force her into making even more suspicious, reckless moves. She needs to talk to Chase. Yes, he is a cop, but he is her husband first. If she goes to him in tears, terrified, and explains that her memory is hazy, but she thinks she might have caused the crash, Chase will help her navigate the legal nightmare. He will be angry, he will be disappointed, but he loves her. He will hire Diane Miller, he will get ahead of the narrative, and he will protect his wife. Honesty is the only play here that saves their marriage in the long run. If she is too terrified to go to Chase because of his badge, then she absolutely must go to Tracy Quartermaine. Tracy is the ultimate Port Charles fixer. When Tracy goes into crisis mode, everyone in that mansion should be very afraid, but also very relieved if they are on her good side. Tracy has a long documented history of cleaning up massive family messes. Let's not forget how many times she covered for Luke Spencer when he was running around causing chaos, getting into drunken accidents and making a mockery of the law. Tracy understands the gray areas of life better than anyone else in that family. If Brook Lynn confesses to Tracy, Tracy won't judge her. She will immediately shift into survival mode. She will marshal the massive Quartermaine resources. She will find the best legal loopholes and she will construct an ironclad defense strategy. Tracy loves Brook Lynn fiercely. She sees so much of herself in her granddaughter, the fire, the passion, the occasional ruthlessness. Tracy would willingly help her through this dark chapter. I just don't want to see Brook Lynn's life permanently ruined by one unfortunate careless mistake. The writers have built a narrative trap that feels incredibly unfair. They put Jordan and Curtis in a situation, yet they are using Brook Lynn's single glass of wine as the smoking gun. It's a classic soap opera misdirection. But the emotional fallout for Brook is very real. We are watching a woman who has fought tooth and nail to redeem herself, to become a loving wife, a dedicated mother to Gio, and a hopeful foster parent to Phoebe stand on the precipice of losing it all. Many fans think that Brook should just stay quiet, let the cops blame the mysterious driver of the other car, and move on with her perfect life. But I think that action would be entirely wrong because it destroys her soul. The guilt will poison her marriage to Chase. Every time she looks at baby Phoebe, she will remember the lies she told to keep her. Every time she sees Jordan Ashford struggling to recover in the hospital, she will feel the crushing weight of her own cowardice. Brooklyn Quartermain is better than that now. She is stronger than that. It is time for her to stand tall, face the music, and trust that the love she has built with her family is strong enough to weather this storm. If the writers truly respect the growth they've given her over the past 5 years, they will allow her to make the brave, honest choice even if it breaks her heart in the short term. We have to hope that the truth will set her free before the lies lock her away forever.